Peace. And and happy now. Now is a vibrate, of course. We're not going too far in the future. We're not going too far in the past. Right now. It's funny. A lot of times too, I laugh at my intro because I'm like that part of me that feels my intro is corny kind of like come at me, but then that part of me that knows that, you know, it's a helping affirmation. You know what I'm saying? So like happy now. And sometimes I get tickled in that aspect of doing the intro. But right now I want to share some of the basically a little insight about LSD and Black Obsidian. That's a combination right there. LSD and Black Obsidian. It's a mixtape right there. But like I want to share how, you know, those two things could be harmful or unbeneficial, you know, in prolonged use in essence. You know. All right, quick, I want to kind of brief over the little history of LSD a little bit. LSD stands for lysergic acid diethylamide, and it's lysergic. Let's see. I know I'm gonna write it. Well, no, I don't need to do all that. I'm doing too much. But lysergic acid diethylamide or diethylamide. You know, I'm from Louisiana. I could slaughter all those little, you know, scientific Latin names and all that. But again, LSD, lysergic acid diethylamide or diethyl. Because matter of fact, I know like well, you know, di stands for two, and ethyl is a certain type of you know, chemical situation going on, and then the mead. I'm sorry I spent like 10 minutes on doing that, but that's just me. But LSD discovered by Albert Hoffman, a Swiss chemist. You know, matter of fact, he was dealing with some solutions. We're really dealing with the ergot fungus. You know, and he found some certain little compounds in the solution dealing with the ergot fungus, and he was also looking for something dealing with the female pregnancy. Forgot what it was, but it was dealing with something with the female body. He was also looking for too. But throughout all that little experimentation, he came out with LSD. Now, just as a, you know, the asterisk disclaimer that, you know, they don't say, they make it, all things point to, oh yeah, he's just a mistake. He was really just looking for this or really just looking for that. But uh, you know, with the awareness of just knowing that, of course, yeah, it could have been a mistake, but then we know how people get down on that level as well, because he is from from Switzerland. You know, the Swiss banks. Know how I go down in that area. You know, if he wasn't, you know, a Rothschild family member wasn't standing right over him while he was making these mistakes. You know, and that's how he found LSD. But as a matter of fact, ergot is basically like a fungus that grows on the rye plant, like a little wheat plant or whatever. And from there, so he discovered, you know, the LSD. As a matter of fact, in 1943, it was like April 19th is the day like where he actually like, all right, I'm gonna take a little small dosage. You know, he took a little small dosage, and that's like the little famous bike ride where he's like felt like time slowed down, like everybody turned into demons and things of this nature. You know, and matter of fact, as I'm speaking on this video, I'm also gonna be just sharing all, you know, my experiences with LSD and insight, you know, just from different aspects of it. So we're not just talking about, you know, the subject matter of how it could get harmful, but just, you know, the general aspect of it, you know. And matter of fact, with that, time, why he felt time slowing down, because the LSD amplifies your metaphysical abilities. Now, I don't have the exact rundown, like this receptor sends diethyltryptophetamine to this receptor in the cerebral cortex of your spinal cord, and then sends this information down to the theophantobalistic diethylball. Like, I don't know how to explain it. That's my best little fake mimicking of saying science stuff, but you know, I, I I don't have that explanation right here and now for you, but just knowing that, from my own experience, I could speak from experience. That's another thing too. Why with dealing with videos, why sometimes it's like some things I just don't really like to dive deep into, because I haven't really experienced, certain subject matters where I might have the information on it at face value, or just enough to be even a little above average on the information, because I don't really, know it fully, or haven't experienced, or whatever. I make sure I don't speak from a point of, having that experience, because there's a difference. When we dealing with psychedelics, with anything, like, I want to get my information from somebody who dealt with it. Like, I don't want to hear from somebody, well, this and that, psychedelics do this and that, but I didn't take it. I gave it to somebody and they told me how they felt. But then now, in essence, that is information. I'm glad to know that, hey, you didn't take the shit. I'm getting information off of what you observed from somebody else, But at the end of the day, to get the real essence of the information, I want to deal with the person who actually took it, So we're dealing with getting information on psychedelics, you might want to make sure you're talking to people who actually, dealt with psychedelics. But they got so many people, and that's on all levels, on this YouTube platform. And a lot of us, I know I've been guilty of talking on a subject, which I make it be known, like, hey, I'm not the expert on this subject. I'm just making a video because I'm knowledgeable about it, and I could share some information that may help. But I let people know, hey, I'm not the expert. I haven't did, what I'm saying? Why some people may give advice to you as if they took it, what I'm saying? Like, oh, that ain't shit, or this is this, or this or that. I mean, if you ain't take it, I could understand if a person took it and then they telling you their experience, like, well, I took this shit and I ain't like it, or this and that, or that happened, or that happened. But a lot of that vibe of, like, not dealing with the situation but wanting to talk so much on the subject, it's like we gotta if we really want that true essence of the information, we gotta go to somebody who really dealt with it. Matter of fact, think about what it is, Tim Leary, and you got Terrence McKenna, his brother Derek McKenna, Alan Watts kind of tap into that little vibe as well, But it's something that, when getting information, you should seek it from somebody who has dealt with this. And matter of fact, and as I'm doing this video, this is for educational purpose. I am not telling people or to do psychedelics or anything of that nature. I'm not, it just is educational. Creating this video for harm reduction and safety. Gotta start implementing that phrase into my psychedelic videos so they won't get erased. But so dealing with Albert Hoffman, he discovered it through his little experiments with ergot fungus, and then in 1950, so in 1943 was when he really acknowledged it for his psychedelic abilities. And then in 1950, the Central Intelligence Agency, aka the CIA, started using LSD for their mind control experiments and MK Ultra project. Matter of fact, I always tell people about this docuseries on Netflix. Came out like last year, I think. But it's called Wormwood, which is pretty cool because Wormwood is also the name used for the planet Nibiru in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? When they talk about in the Bible, like the wormwood coming back or whatever, that's another word for planet X or Nibiru. You know, but in that docuseries Wormwood is basically about a guy father who was, a part of the experiment in which the government, basically experimented on this guy father too much, and he ended up killing himself. And he just like the documentary in essence is him just remembering the days as a little kid, remembering how secretive his daddy was with working with the project, and how after he transitioned, how like the government was acting all funny with the way they was asking questions and doing things. But you know the MK Ultra, matter of fact, and to get deep into the MK Ultra vibes as well, you could look at the Manchurian Candidate, the newer one, not the older one, the newer one with I think Denzel Washington is in the newer. In which when I say newer, it's an old movie, but they even have an older version, like of that movie, but it deals with that because also, you know, I would say from my own experience and I could see why they would feel like dealing with mind control and stuff like that because LSD does deal with your psyche. You know that's another thing to be aware of. You know it's it's like a truth serum in essence of the way it dissolves our ego. That filter that we have to want to like say what sounds good or what you know the fake saying that would just place a little fake sticker over what you're really feeling or really want to say. LSD dissolves that, you know. So one of the reasons why they may have felt the urge to use it in the MK Ultra experiments and mind control experiments because it does have like a truth serum vibe to it because it dissolves that that egoic mind of wanting to protect, like, because say for instance, the reason why we lie and hide things because you're trying to protect your little fake ego, this persona, so to protect my persona I can't let you know that I got molested as a little kid or this and that. But when you're on LSD, and that's why too, on another aspect, like why we do it with our tribe members, because not only you may speak on these situations, but for sure it's telepathically felt. You know what I'm saying? Now they don't, from the MK Ultra movie, Wormwood and stuff like that, they don't speak on it on that level, but it is a true serum in that essence as well. Not only just defiltering that egoic mind and that little disguise, that little persona, but it also uh, allows for our inner universe to be felt by those around us in essence on a telepathic level. So you're sharing what all the things you went through in life and all that is being shared with the group, you know what I'm saying, in essence. And it depends on how open everybody pineal gland is as well, because that may vary, because I notice like some people may not have seen as much as I seen or felt as much as I felt, or vice versa, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But it depends on the degree of how much your pineal gland is open as well. And little after the 1950s with them using it, CIA using it in their mind control MK Ultra experiments, you know, it was also sold as a medication for research purposes under the name Delicid, Delicid, Delyssid, which is a breakdown of like lysergic and diethyl amide, the basis of the LSD name. So at one point they was using it as in essence over the counter, but not even over the counter. Let me not say it like that, but as more openly on a research level, sold as a medication. So like you probably for a short period of time, some people was probably getting prescribed, this form of LSD. You know, and matter of fact, dealing with the scheduling, like with certain things, certain chemicals being a Schedule 1 drug or just a scheduling of a drug in general, which of course, America or the government with their foolishness, they're not really trying to help us. So anything that's going to open your mind spiritually are going to stop anything that's going to help you from dealing with, pharmaceuticals and the poison that they're trying to push on you. They're not going to want you to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? So even though DMT is within our pineal gland, like all of us who has just a semi-open pineal gland, right now is secreting DMT. So all of us is in possession of a quote-unquote illegal substances, and you start to see why these laws that people make are not really a law, or are not really laws that you should abide by. That's just them with their own agenda making something a law because of some type of agenda that they got going on, and not necessarily like, well, like how, like, well, some laws, some people may correlate, well, no, God feel like that, like, well, don't smoke weed because God, no, fool, that's the European slave masters want you to not smoke. You know what I'm saying? That don't come from God. That's laws. That's man-made laws, And there's laws made in disconnect to source, because everything is God. So a human being that makes laws, in essence is a part of God, but is in that mode being disconnected from that higher essence of source and in that egoic mind, so not necessarily connected to that high vibrational true essence, with the omnipresent source, not connected to that energy. Now, another, just a little science to add to the LSD vibes. The LSD does connect with a serotonin receptor called a 5-HT2A. And matter of fact, serotonin is what's produced by our body, like that puts us in that happy, good feeling mood. You know what I'm saying? Like that's serotonin is being released whenever you're feeling good and happy and pleasurable. You kind of motivated that by. Matter of fact, St. John's wort is a herb that's good for the production of serotonin. And matter of fact, when you look at the chemical makeup of serotonin, like when you look at the molecular structure of serotonin, it is basically the same as DMT and psilocin and psilocybin. Like they basically have the same basic molecular structure. So you start to see, like, these psychedelics, to say something that's illegal, like, because if I go look at like these fake prescriptions they're giving people and things that really should be legal, or things that are really harmful to us, things that are really harmful to us is not going to have a similar molecular structure to something that our body produce. Like, ooh, that, like, simple point blank. Like, so you could go to proving, like, so if they claim that this drug is so illicit and you had to prove, like, in a court of law, like, hey, judge, let me prove to you that y'all fucking lying and that is some bullshit. And you could say, hey, look at this serotonin that my body produced naturally and always produce, Look at the other things that it is correlated to, and you look at the molecular structure of psilocin, psilocybin, and DMT and how they correlate. You could say, well, how in the fuck is this illegal? And then draw the example of those showing things that our body don't produce that's harmful, like silicon dioxide, or these little chemicals they put in food, and that molecular structure won't seem damn near exact to certain things in our body. Now, of course, I'm pretty sure they play games to make some of these things come close, but not as close as like how the serotonin, psilocin, psilocybin, matter of fact, MDMA molecule, like all those molecules, serotonin, they all look the same, you know, have damn near basically the same structure. Kind of like the same analogy for blood and chlorophyll, you know. Blood and chlorophyll basically has the same molecular structure. The only difference is one of them has iron in it and the other one I think is manganese. You know, I want to say manganese or magnesium, but either way you get the point of you know, just swapping out one chemical and you got you know, a whole different substance just by swapping out one thing. Now of course with the chlorophyll blood thing, again, it's, you know, one small chemical like one small bond difference or one small chemical bond away from being exactly the same, but it is exactly, you know, the same basis, the same chemical, just swapped out for iron and magnesium or manganese. And again, reason for that is you know, with us being more mobile, you know, we generate more heat, more electricity, so we need that metal, that iron pumping through us to create, you know, electrical surge, you know, give us more dynamic, more, you know, energy to move around compared to a plant that, you know, doesn't need that high end electrical surge in essence, because it's just, you know, it's just gonna chill, you know, it's just rooted in its being, you know, not moving nowhere, so it doesn't need that iron to constantly, you know, pump through like that. But I digress. Then another little pointer, and I'm getting to the, because I still haven't really touched on what I want to talk about. Then also another little cool, let's say, cool information I came across. Don't know how true it is, but Aldous Huxley, the author of the novel Brave New World, it was said that his wife had gave him LSD on his deathbed and called it the most beautiful death, you know. And don't forget that, you know, in which she really probably didn't have to do that. Well, I mean, in essence, because, you know, our pineal gland produces DMT, you know, in near-death experiences and at the moment of that, you know. But I guess, you know, just wanted to coast through it, you know, beforehand or whatever. And then too, it all depends on how open your pineal gland is as well. You know, that goes into it. Then also another little point I came across with dealing with, to, you know, if you want to know, like dealing with LSD, you know, and again, not telling nobody to take nothing, but just if you happen to come across this in some way, form, or fashion, you know, and you're trying to find out whether you really have, you know, LSD or not, you know, I saw his brethren, he spoke about this testkitplus.com, and it's called a Elric solution. I'll write it out. And like you would take a piece of your tab, you know, or whatever you fountain, you don't know whether it's LSD or not. You know, you try to make sure the kids don't pick up nothing around the house or whatever it is you're doing. But oh dang, it's Elric solution. And it's some type of solution that just pick up on the chemical makeup of LSD, and the color turn purple of the solution if it is really LSD. But you know, you do have that you could use as well, and I think it comes from testkitplus.com. So if you know, needing to identify some things. Now, what I really want to get into is the aspect of dealing with LSD and Black Obsidian, and you know how both of them, you know, in essence, your acid trip goes deep into your psyche, you know, and in a lot of cases it'll take you deep into your psyche and deep into your you know, your shadow self, deep into these places and these realms, that we be hiding from, you know what I'm saying? Where the great old ones, the Necronomicon with H.P. Lovecraft, and they talk about the great old ones, great old ones, quote unquote, is in this, that deep, dark primordial place of our subconscious mind. But I had a download, or just an insight of how too much acid, or working with acid too much, or working with black obsidian too much, could create a situation of you constantly dealing with your shadow self, or constantly dealing with your past. And of course, with our spiritual growth, we gotta face our quote unquote demons, our daemons. We gotta face our lower nature, face our shadows. But it's not at the expense of facing it to the point of never growing from it. You know what I'm saying? And I see the vibe with acid, and in my own experience with the black obsidian, and how, like, when we working on our shadow self, it's cool to work on our shadow self. It's cool to work on past lives, and this deep down psyche, like the deep down trauma from your psyche, and getting deep in there. It's good to, to get into that vibe and, shine that conscious light on that shadow. But it gets to a point where when you're constantly, dealing with a harmful part of your growth, then you're going to constantly manifest that. So, like, your now is what, manifests, what you're doing right now manifests more in your future now. You know what I'm saying? So if in this moment you're constantly, going through the trauma of your shadow self, like whether it's from taking acid or from dealing with a crystal like black obsidian, where you're constantly going through the trauma of your old self, and you never have a moment of feeling like good, like doing something where you're not, because again, of course, dealing with your shadow self is going to spiritually liberate you, but in essence, with dealing with, our shadow self, depending on the intensity of it, it could be a little too intense for us to just stay dealing with, you know what I'm saying? Where, certain aspects of my shadow self, where if I constantly focus on it, or I focus dealing with it in a certain manner, or in a manner of like dealing with LSD, the way it, it shows it to you, and it shines that light on your shadow in a manner where it's like it just overly shows it to you in a manner that could become hindering. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause like, it's one thing where we know what we need to work on, but then it's like being showed what we need to work on such an extreme level. It's like, all right, damn, I get it. You know what I'm saying? I need to work on that. You know what I'm saying? It's like it could get to a point where it's just kind of perpetually keeping you in that shadow plate. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to get these words out, because too, I think about, like, with acid trips, and how you constantly in these visualizations, whether it's your past life. And this is another thing too, when I'm speaking to, not to say that the acid has you just dealing with the harmful aspects of your past, but like the acid may also just have you in your past life in general, but again, say for instance, right now, I'm in this bodysuit right now as universal frequencies right now, to take care of what universal frequencies has to take care of right now. Not what my past life as a wizard a few years ago had to take care of. Not what my past life when I was in Jamaica, got to take care of. Not what my myself as a Lyran when I was back in the star system library, you know. Now, of course, what I'm dealing with right now is accumulation of all those past lives and all those energies from those past lives. Don't get it twisted. But when you get into a place where you basically living in your past life, like where every day you kind of like in the illusion of living in your past life, you know what I'm saying, and not living this life. You know, that's what also dealing with acid, where you see some people living in their acid realm, you know what I'm saying, and to each his own with our experience here on earth, you know what I'm saying, like it's your choice on whether you want to, you know, live in your acid visualizations instead of actually, you know, being here on earth and doing, you know, what it is you may have came down here to do. And which again, you may have came down here, like your lesson in this life may be to just continuously take acid without, you know, without tapping into your own energy, or without, you know, doing nothing else, you know, to each his own. But like I say to each his own on that vibe, but I know for a fact that for the majority of beings, you know, we're here to, you know, experience life on a level of realizing that, you know, we are God, we are everything, you know, and then just growing and expanding on that notion, you know, and if we always dealing with, you know, a past life, a matter of fact, getting into the Black Obsidian, like uh it's an old relationship that you're trying to get over. But today, as a matter of fact, look, I'm trying to make sure I say it. I call myself, that wouldn't be a good analogy. Uh, but like how Black Obsidian, so say for instance, if I got a problem procrastinating, you know, I work with Black Obsidian so it could point out my shadows and I could see, hey, all right, I know that I procrastinate. I need to fix that. But now that I know, I don't have to constantly be pointed to the fact of that, you know, I once was procrastinating. I need to work on procrastination, because it gets to a point where with Black Obsidian, it'll put you in the mode of your shadow self to show it to you. So in essence, it'll give me the strong urge to procrastinate in order to point it out, like say, like see how you just sitting down, you know. So in essence, it kind of hinders, like, so say for instance, it's cool to work with it, all right, bam, it put me into this mode of my shadow self, but only so I could see it. Cool. Now I could go put Black Obsidian on the shelf somewhere and work with, you know, crystals that gonna keep me more in a positive aspect about it. So working with a crystal for my solar plexus like citrine or rose quartz, you know, something to feel good, something that's not gonna point out, you know, bring me back into that mode of procrastination, you know. Because again, it was cool for me to just be pointed out to it as a lesson. But if I constantly work with Black Obsidian and I'm constantly being shown my procrastination, then when am I ever gonna fix it or ever come out of it? Like, I'm keeping myself in a perpetual loop of learning this lesson, but I won't never really learn from it if I'm constantly, you know, shining the light on it in that manner. You know what I'm saying? Where I'm constantly going through it, and then my now is me constantly procrastinating in essence, because, you know, my higher self trying to shine the light on that shadow, but indirectly now I'm still procrastinating, because in order for this Black Obsidian, in order to show this shadow to me, it has me going through the motions of this shadow mode, but in essence that's still manifesting more of it. So, you know, as much as a stone like Black Obsidian, you know, and Malachite somewhere has that vibe as well, as much as it's pointing out your shadow self, you know, it gets to a point where you don't want to constantly be going through this vibe, you know what I'm saying? How I always bring up, like, well, it's a spiritual liberating vibration for you to deal with say for instance this friend that you no longer deal with, man, they did some foul stuff, and you done got over it, but you just really don't feel like right now you don't feel like mending those wounds right now. You don't feel like dealing with that friend, you know. And again, you're gonna be spiritually liberated from dealing with that friend, but the situation within itself, is somewhat of a little stressful situation, and you don't feel like dealing with it. And Black Obsidian are continuously having us go through, these in essence, to lack of a better word, these stressful shadows, these shadows that may, in essence, become stressful when intensely dealing with them or intensely learning the lesson of them. You know what I'm saying? So it takes a little balance in that area. And again, back to the LSD, where if you constantly, you know, dealing with acid, because acid is a non-addictive substance, but we all different. Some people just kind of push that threshold and just like they gonna take it almost every day or every other day, but just taking it a lot and not just microdosing. Because with psilocybin, with LSD, I don't too much feel a vibe of wanting to microdose the LSD as much as psilocybin, you know. But you could microdose, but again, like I'm talking about, like just being in that constant mode of always taking acid. Well, here it is. If you always going through these strong lessons within your psyche, like now is about being blissful and about creating what you want, visualizing the life you want to see and the life you want. It's not always constantly going through your shadow self and going through the memories of getting touched on as a little kid and going through the memories of this happening. And again, of course, that does have spiritual liberation by consciously recognizing and being aware of your shadows. But if you're constantly paying attention to them, then to a certain extent, you kind of going to recreate them because you're kind of like what you're focusing on. All this mind, all this thought. What are you constantly focusing on? Are you constantly in your LSD world? You know what I'm saying? In your little past life from dealing with acid. Are you constantly in that past life when you was on Sirius? Well, then you in that past life when you was on Sirius, then you ain't gonna take this life serious. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be letting this life pass the wayside. Then that'll be a lesson within itself. You'll be lined up back again. Like I have to learn not to get sidetracked by past experiences. I have to learn to be in the now. So you'll be lined up right back again to come into your body again, because in this lifetime, instead of being in the now, which again, part of being in the now is taking acid. I could be in the now. My now could consist of taking acid, but with the effects of acid, your now will constantly be, going through, all your shadows. And when I'm saying that, all acid trips are not intensely on that level, but it's on that level nonetheless, where it definitely dissolves the ego and just constantly on that vibe of just making you aware of those little egoic mind things, or just those little hindering thought patterns that no longer serve. It shines a light on a lot of those things. But again, there's a thin line between shining the light on a situation a few times, then getting the picture and then fixing it, and then just constantly shining the light on the situation where it'll never really get fixed, because you're constantly focusing on it, on the problem. In essence, you're constantly focusing on the problem without actually fixing the problem. So here it is again, where You know, you could be all on the star system serious, you know, but then not taking this like, cause you're here in this bodysuit for a reason, you know. You're not here in this bodysuit so you could live in your memories of being on Sirius, you know. Or live in our past lives. Again, our past lives helps us realize what we're doing right now, but it's about this moment. Nothing exists except for now. And that's another thing. So basically just showing how, like, sometimes like an acid trip and black obsidian could, by overusing acid and black obsidian, you could be taken out of your now, you know, by constantly focusing on these past traumas, by constantly focusing on what past happiness, whatever. But it's like, just constantly being in a place of the past, in essence. And that's one of the things that black obsidian acid deal a lot with. And again, as I'm saying, this acid doesn't just deal with this aspect, but it one of the main things that it does, mostly is, matter of fact, that's where people get the idea that they're having a bad trip. Or matter of fact, or even with Albert Hoffman thinking he's seeing like everybody was demons, and it's like, and I was possessed by a demon, this and that. No, you're just going through your shadow self. But imagine doing that every day, and which acid trips long. So if you taking it every day and you're not really working on yourself in essence, because you mostly just throwing them tabs back, and so you constantly in a place of recreating, these harmful energies or these past energies, whether beneficial or not, but you're constantly in your past instead of being in your now. You are here now. I take a little glimpse at what I was doing when I was a wizard to know, get a better idea of what I'm doing now. Because if I know I was fucking up as a wizard, doing magical spells and harming people, then I know now my aim is to not harm people. That's what I learned. It's not so I could be like, yeah, and I was doing this as a wizard, and I was doing that as a wizard, and I was this and this as a wizard. It's like, no, it's just a little reference point to what I was doing. Bam, I was fucking over people in that life. So now using that knowledge for my now, where it's like, all right, now I'm not gonna mess over people like I was in that past life, And after I got that information, anything extra will be my egoic mind just wanting to go to the past of like, well, what else I was doing as a wizard, Or our higher self let us know, if it was more to that situation or whatever, instead of feeling like, oh, well, just learning, just constantly wanting to go into your past lives and into these situations, Me and my brethren had that conversation, like, well, it's cool for us to reminisce on us being in Lyra, being Lyra, Lyran beings, whenever we was in that incarnation. But it's like, it was a thin line where we were finding ourselves like talking about it, and again, I spoke to him about that, where like our like one or two of the high chakras was overspinning, and our root chakra wasn't spinning properly. So what we were doing was being detached from our human body, you know what I'm saying? Being detached from our human body, always in our high chakras. As a matter of fact, that could be a side effect to be aware of as well, dealing with acid. Where acid may, disrupt your root chakra by bringing you into, this realm of because you tapping into these different dimensions, what some people may call different part of your psyche, you know what I'm saying? Like you tapping in to these different places, but I forgot what I was doing. Dang, I'm gonna say something fire right there. Oh man. And I'm starting to see with that vibe too, whether I smoke or not. Like I've been taking ginkgo biloba, got too cola, hadn't smoked all day today yet, but having these little strong, they still. But I was just speaking to, not not being all in your past, not letting the acid trip just allow you. Matter of fact, throwing off the root chakra, because if I'm always in my psyche and stuff like this, and in my mind, in essence, for one, whether no matter what you're in your mind about, if you're in your mind, you're not necessarily in your body, so that's one thing, because you kind of like, you in your thought, what I'm saying, your body just on autopilot while you in all these little visualizations, thoughts, or whatever the case may be. But speaking to, again, with me and my brethren, was where we find ourselves constantly, having these conversations of Lyra and being Lyra beings, and back in Lyra, this, that, or that happened, or we was rocking like this. But that was a dysfunctional aspect of our experience, as far as like we were disconnected in our root chakra and our high chakras, like the interstellar gateway chakra and the soma chakra and high crown chakras were overspinning, but more so the interstellar gateway chakra overspinning. So we all in these past lives and in our intergalactical existence, you know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, that's a symptom from working with Moldavite. Because matter of fact, both of us had like the three had Moldavite, Libyan gold, and Tibetan tektite. You know what I'm saying? So they're gonna have you in that interdimensional, intergalactical self. Connecting with that part of yourself. That's why, in essence, the importance of being grounded, dealing with crystals, and dealing with with the psychedelic situation as well. So you don't float off. You know what I'm saying? In the wind. Matter of fact, that's another thing with psychedelics. Definitely. If you feel that your psyche is on the edge, like some people barely got a grasp on this physical realm, you know what I'm saying, what's going on, and they just don't need a put, like they right there on the edge, and they don't need to be pushed over it, and for some people, like they should, for that reason, they shouldn't deal with psychedelics, because they're not mentally stable. If you're not mentally stable, then you shouldn't be dealing with psychedelics. That's just the reality of it. No matter how spiritually liberating it may be in a lot of cases, we gotta be responsible with our awareness of dealing with these things. You know what I'm saying? Because in essence, in order for us to be able to deal with these things and stop the becoming proactive with it, to where we could basically break down all these laws of making it illegal. But the only way to do that is to be responsible with our usage, so the government can't be like, well, look at them, they tripping over here and doing this old crazy stuff over here and this crazy, you know what I'm saying? Drink responsibly. Should I say tab or psychedelic responsibly? But just the whole vibe of not overworking with Black Obsidian, and that also Malachite does shine a light on shadows to a certain extent. It has an intense energy as well, because matter of fact, Malachite could also cause heart palpitation, because it's so strong, especially with the copper in there, because copper deals with electricity, the heart deals with electricity. But the Black Obsidian is definitely, and again, as you use it in moderation, you will grow from these shadows, and the more, because that's another thing too, it's not like these shadows just constantly exist. You could work on these things, but again, if you're constantly working with Black Obsidian, or constantly using acid on a level where you never give yourself a break to assess your lessons, and to really take care of the things you learn, you know what I'm saying, then you're gonna constantly be creating a loop of that energy, you know what I'm saying? You know, you're gonna constantly be dealing with your shadows, constantly. You know, it's like it's gonna seem like you're never really fixing anything, like because you're gonna constantly just be always experiencing your shadows in a manner that doesn't really help you. You know, but dealing with the psychedelics again, you want to just have awareness because it's intention with any and all things, for the most part anyway. With a piece of crystal quartz to to this water I drink or to whatever, it's intention. In fact, yeah, I'm drinking that a little pool water. I don't know which one this is. Oh, Nestle. Oh yeah, they got some trash in there. Yeah, but matter of fact, again, dealing with my situation, I am where I'm, where I'm at, being Opelousas, but not just falling victim to it. Because whenever I get the chance, I go at least get me some Essentia, which Essentia is a water I didn't too much deal with, even though it was an alkaline water. You know what I'm saying? But it's alchemy. Transmuting. I'll make it. I'm taking enough for Ginkgo biloba and dealing with crystals, meditating enough. I meditate the little bullshit that's in that water. I meditate that out of me. That's basically it. Just when we dealing with revisiting again these past lives or revisiting, you know, hindering vibrations that no longer serve us. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to be in a constant revisitation of these energies. Because again, our now is what creates more of our now. So whatever state you find yourself being in mostly in the moment, that's the state that you're gonna continuously be in the moment until you recognize and like, oh no, I don't want to be sad all the time. It's like, all right, change that. But until then, your moment constantly creates your moments. And it's non-stop. So if you're constantly putting yourself through that, and again to have that awareness and to be realistic, because even though LSD may not be something that's known to be strongly addictive, again, to each his own. We're all wired different or whatever. Some of us may have fall victim to being addicted to this, but it's just recognized. Don't get mad at yourself. Again, hi, my name is such and such, I'm an alcoholic. You know what I'm saying? Like, the first thing to fixing the problem is admitting that there is one. You know what I'm saying? And when you're stubborn in your ways, that's why stubborn people, most of them, you find that stubborn people don't grow spiritually, because they have problem with just saying, hey, I do this or I do that. It's fucked up and I know I need to change it. Like they like, no, I do this. It's not fucked up. I think that is, I think it's right to do this and I'm not gonna change up. You know what I'm saying? It's like that sternness not gonna help. Only make it worse. But that's the whole vibe dealing with the the acid. And a lot of us, would rather deal with the more natural ways of psychedelics, and that would be your mushrooms with psilocybin, and then you got your ayahuasca plant, which has the deals with the DMT, and then with the ayahuasca or the more natural forms of DMT would be the 5-MeO DMT. I always talk about the 4-ACO DMT. It's kind of like an analog. It came in power. And matter of fact, that one is more closer to psilocin. And matter of fact, and when you look at the molecular structure of just regular DMT and psilocin, you'll see that they, basically look the same. Which again, all of my serotonin, like MDMA, psilocybin, like all. You look at the molecular structure right now. Go Google psychedelic molecular structures, you know, and tap images. You'll see that what I'm talking about is real. And again, on the level of calling bullshit on the government, it's like, you got these things that y'all make illegal that's damn near the exact same molecule as certain helpful things in my body. You know what I'm saying? That's another key thing. Like, not only, because, they got things in our body that may not be, you know, helpful to us on a high scale. Like, say, for instance, we do have stomach acid, but if our stomach acid would, was, how can I say, go above average, then it would mess the body up, you know what I'm saying? But like, and everything has its balance in essence anyway. But again, like calling bullshit, where it's like, here it is, where, molecular structure, the serotonin that's in me, and all these other chemicals that are helpful to me and naturally in me, you know what I'm saying? Here it is, where these psychedelics have damn near the same exact structure, you know what I'm saying, as these chemicals, but yet you want to make it illegal, but then you allow, alcohol and prescription drugs that has, no close proximity to our molecular structure in a lot of ways, but you still push that. We gotta raise the conscious awareness, man. The more people know, the faster we'll be able to deal with these things without having a, which I don't even say that, because there ain't nobody running and hiding. To be honest. I said you can do these things without running and hiding, but I call myself like, shit, ain't nobody running and hiding anyway. Of course, we got a little discretion, but that's basically it, y'all, Again, always do research before dealing with any and all things that, especially something dealing with, consumption that you're consuming. And again, this video is not I say this video is for educational purposes, created for harm reduction and safety. That's what this is all about. And again, just raising awareness too, for sure, in the melanated community, you know what I'm saying? Because there's so many, our community suffer from people being on all kind of other substances. Now, I just be on the reality of the subject, like, shit, if you're going to be on a substance, shit, be on one that's going to at least spiritually liberate you. God damn, you know what I'm saying? Instead of something that's just constantly killing you. That's another thing I tell brethren and sisters too. I'm like, especially with the back home vibes, where, here it is, where we have all these, real harsh drugs around us. You got what the brethren call the wet, or the formaldehyde, or the angel dust, you know what I'm saying? The brethren smoke cigarettes with that in it. But then if I tell them about a mushroom, or LSD, or, DMT, it's like, oh no, man, I ain't messing with, man, it's like, are you kidding me? I remember my approach with dealing with acid, because I never did want to, deal with it, because I was on that, oh man, it's synthetic, this and that. But where I was in my journey, I did all kind of other shit. I was like, in myself, I'm like, man, I would be an idiot. I would be a complete idiot. I'm just looking at myself. I'm talking to myself. I would be a complete idiot and fool not to try some shit that could possibly spiritually liberate me and give me a different experience just in general. Like, I'd be an idiot to be scared of that, you know, on the basis of like, oh no, that's a chemical that I never tried before. Like, I mean, look at all the other chemicals I done tried before, you know, like that's known for killing people. Like people drink alcohol every day. Is a fact that you could die of alcohol poisoning. You know, nobody dying from psilocybin poison. Nobody dying, not even from even though acid is synthetic. You know, it's not a lot of known deaths from acid or ODing off of acid. You know what I'm saying? And especially not DMT because it's fucking in you. You can't, you know, in essence, if you OD off of DMT, I would have just assumed that in essence you just transition like and it wouldn't be like ODing in essence of like if your own body produces like just extremely high level, then I guess you would kind of like just leave your body, you know. And that and it wouldn't be just like that because again, you know, if it's producing on a high level, your heart would still beat, and that's, you know, you're still there, you know. Because matter of fact, that's why with my DMT trip, reason why I felt like I was dead because I took I took an extremely high dosage, you know, and DMT is produced when we die. And matter of fact, on a high level, because matter of fact, when you transition, it's like the all the little DMT banks, you know what I'm saying? Like it's, I mean, you know, not know having the knowledge on me right now, so I'm not gonna say it like that, but just from wherever DMT could be secreted, it's gonna be secreted within your body and emptied out into the body during a death experience. So that's why some of us have these experiences where we feel like, you know, we done transition because, you know, we dealing with that level of DMT that we would be dealing with if we were transitioning, you know what I'm saying? So that's why it feels like that as well, you know. But, you know, again, just the awareness of it all, you know. Check out again the Brethren Terrence McKenna videos, which myself, you know, being somebody of a you know melanated being, you know what I'm saying? Should I say you know, having a melanated bodysuit, you know, I'm being that person to, in essence, indirectly, you know, I don't like to create these names like I'm the Black Terrence McKenna, you know what I'm saying, like that. But in essence, I keep it real. I am, without calling myself that, like, you know, being being that for my particular area and peoples, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, in the hood, nobody taking psychedelics, you know. Again, like I just spoke to, you know, a person to smoke a sherm stick and snort coke and drink alcohol, all things that could kill them before they would deal with psychedelics. So, you know, just being that person to you know, speak on it from this perspective, from somebody being from the quote unquote hood, you know what I'm saying? from their from the inner cities or the urban areas, however they say that. Oh, where you from is real urban. You mean hood or ghetto? Just say it. But nah, you know, it's definitely about raising awareness. Cause again, you know, and how many people? Cause another thing, I look around, I don't see too many people, you know, not only taking or dealing with psychedelics on a high level, but also sharing what they experience, you know, and being able to, you know, articulate uh, themselves with the information correlated to, you know, a lot of esoteric and occult information. So it's like, you know, might as well be that person. And not to say like that, you know, that's not in that ego mode of like, oh yeah, I'm the only person doing this and that. You know, just speaking of, you know, what moves me in this direction of dealing with this subject matter and why, you know, I feel the way I feel. Because it, you know, the awareness, man, like Louisiana would be a whole different place, you know. Like if you substituted crack, cocaine, this fake legal weed that they got going around now, heroin, that's mostly in New Orleans. Uh, you substitute all that, the wet, substitute all that for like mushrooms, LSD, and you know, well, DMT we naturally secrete that, but it, outside of that too though, because we do have it in plants, so you know, ayahuasca, whatever. But just imagine that little swap, like if we made a little swap out, you know, in our neighborhoods, like how much of a different world. Like, matter of fact, how different a conversation with a quote unquote crackhead would be if, matter of fact, if that crackhead wasn't on crack, would like, you know, they were on. Or matter of fact, if the streets, so say for instance, even to look at it from a negative aspect, so like if a person was overusing psilocybin or overusing LSD or overusing DMT, let's just say hypothetically, because you know, because it is non-addictive substances, like how the streets will look, you know. So somebody that's constantly like tweaking off of LSD or or like mushrooms, and what kind of conversation you would have with them, like you know what I'm saying, like it would be a different place, you know. And again, not promoting the usage of anything over your own technology in the first place, you know what I'm saying, like we are everything. I am the crystals that I wear, you know what I'm saying? Like not only I got an amethyst around my neck, but amethyst is in me. You know what I'm saying? These are just helpers, you know what I'm saying? We here on our human experience. We got little props to, you know, remind us of our energy in essence. You know, but again, you don't need no psychedelics, you don't like none of this, you know. I could sit down and induce this state through meditation first and foremost, and that's one thing to I always like to remind people of, is that all these states of consciousness could be reached through meditation, or you know, tapping into different brain waves, you know what I'm saying, theta, delta, more of those little dreamy, you know, vibes. I feel like theta give me more of an out of body type of experience. Theta and I think it's gamma. Theta and gamma waves, you know. But yes, we have the ability to tap into all of this without any substances, you know what I'm saying? Like matter of fact, we produce DMT with conscious breathing. That's why, you know, I don't know if everybody else do it as well, but I know I shake every time I catch like a little almost like a little sexual tremor, like I'm busting a nut every time I do a strong yogic breath. So every time, let me see, I'm not gonna try to do. I'm gonna just do my breath, and you might just see like this little area right here might start like jerking or popping or something like that. Let's see. So it just happen naturally, you know. DMT, Christ seed energy raising up the spine, secreting the pineal, you know, busting a nut. Yeah, you, ooh. You know, as above, so below. We got sexual things going on up here and down here. You know, but I digress. You know, just wanted to share that aspect. So to all the psychedelic users, but mostly those who deal with LSD, you know, just the awareness of not, you know, overly using, because you're gonna, you know, in essence, have yourself in you know, a constant mode of learning harsh lessons. You know, and again, that varies because again, some of us doing the work as we go. So in other words, like this is only for those of us who are, you know, maybe overly working with Black Obsidian, overly dealing with LSD. Because you know, because if you're not overly doing it, then you know you're catching your little omens, you're working on it, and so as you go, you know your acid trips are in essence less intense because you take it, bam, work on what you gotta do, and then some weeks later, a month later, or whatever, however you space out, when you do it again, and then it's not the same because you done learned that lesson and got rid of it. But another thing too though, for myself is what because again it taps deeply into your subconscious, so that's why some of these things may even though we fixing on them, you know what I'm saying, it's like, oh, something new pop up, you know what I'm saying, kind of saw it on that vibe as well. But again, it's just not keeping ourselves in that constant loop of living in these past lives, living in our little visualizations that we, you know what I'm saying, it's like we're here on the physical plane for a reason. And even though it's a free will universe and we're all different, I know for the most part, the God in me knows that for the most part, a person didn't come down here just to take LSD every single day of their life and not do anything else. Again, I understand that to each his own, that somebody may feel like that's life. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they, you know. But for the most part, when my inner source tells me otherwise, again, a free will universe, we all got unique paths, unique energies moving through us. We're gonna manifest unique experiences. So that's basically it. Peace. Happy now. Now is the vibrate. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now.